I hate to come on here like this. I don't have no lighting. I try to sit where I thought the light was going to shine better, but of course, it's above my head and not directly in front of my face. I look tired and I have a hat on because my hair is not acting right today, but whatever. Um, the title of this video will be appreciation. So, I haven't been on here in a long time. I know y'all guys. Please just bear with me on this journey because it's hard for me to get on any of my social media sites. I struggle with it, and I struggle more with YouTube than Instagram. I literally get on Instagram quicker than I would do YouTube. Um, but enough of that because I don't want to draw this out. Um, God brought me to this video earlier, and I was on fire earlier. I really should have shot this earlier, how I was feeling in the spirit, but I think that I speak more clear when I'm more settled. Like when I'm in that excitement mode, I miss stuff. I stutter a lot. I try to zoom through the word. So right now I'm just relaxing and speaking. I feel as though I can get everything he showed me out more clear and I can be open to more revelation and I won't be so excited. So I hope you guys are excited to receive this word. Um, an old friend of mine texted me earlier out of the blue, and I was just thinking like this person is going to um trigger me today. So I just took my time with the response or whatever, and we were talking about relationships, which is seem to be the subject that is brought up in every conversation nowadays, every podcast, and what have you. So I treaded lightly with the conversation, and they end up sending me a video and it had Kevin Samuels on there. And the person texted me and said, I feel like this person, talking about in reference to Kevin Samuels. So you guys don't know this, but my Instagram followers do know this. I get triggered by Kevin Samuels. Um, it's like a discernment thing. Like I get triggered by a few people if I hear them, and I don't listen to them. I don't let them in my ear gates. I don't watch them. I don't let them in my eye gates. That's how I feel about Kevin Samuels. I felt about him. I gave a prophetic word that I didn't even know was a prophecy on my Instagram once. And it was days before he passed away. And so many people, I don't know if they were freaked out by it, but I was just saying, like, if he don't, change his ways and be more kinder to women, which is God's daughters, then he can drop dead. And literally, I don't even want to say it was 3 days, maybe it was 4 days later, he died. And God rest his soul. I wish he would have hearkened to the Lord before, his day of demise. Nobody deserves to die. I'll be wanting people to wake up earlier than that. But I was triggered by the video, so I just said, Lord, please calm me down so I could listen to it, right? Because each video that Kevin Samuels has a different message. And I did see something in the video. I don't always not agree with him. I don't like his delivery all the time. So if he's given a word, it's hard for people to receive from you when your delivery is bad. That's why God works on our character and give us when our character is worked on, we we turn that characteristic traits into fruits. So that's why he said test the people spirits by their fruit. So when somebody meets you, they're going to test you if they're a child of Christ by your fruitfulness, and one of those is your characteristic. So I don't know all the fruits to name them off, but if you look at the list of what God listed in the Bible as what your fruits are, um, let me try to guess one right now. I want to say kindness is one of them. So that's associated with your characteristics. I might be wrong, but just an example. So I wrote some notes today because I was just that riled up. So the Lord started making me think about the journey that I started on when I started this whole process. He told me in ministry that my ministry would be my marriage. He also told me that I would preach about marriages or relationships and wholeness before I ever got married. Now, I haven't been so consistent with that but I have been gaining still knowledge and research, and I do listen to a lot of other prophets and learn from them as well. I try to learn from them as well. So, um, I wrote down a note under Kevin Samuel's names. I put next to his name, he's an example. Um, Remember their video is titled Appreciation. I want y'all to keep that in your mind as I speak. Not preaching biblical relationships. So, one of the issues that I personally had with him was that nothing he was preaching or teaching, because I don't want to label him as a preacher, he wasn't ordained to be one, uh, was he wasn't speaking about relationships biblically. A lot of these relationship coaches don't. So I think the only one I ever watched, and I watched a lot of them for years straight, like I was like literally taking notes on quite a few relationship coaches for about 2 years straight. The only one I stuck straight through with was Tony Gaskins, and I spoke about him on this channel multiple times because he helped me a lot. So he references the Bible and he references a life living for Christ, not necessarily um, religion. So I also wrote down Derek Jackson. Um, when I used to watch him, I had caught discernment. I felt the discernment that I needed to stop watching him. So I obeyed God and I did. I didn't even know it was God speaking to me at the time. I just felt something was so off and it just felt so wrong. And it was one thing that I kept realizing and it triggered me was the baby car seat in the back of all his videos. But he always appeared to be single. And it was just a number of things. I'm not gonna go into it because it's gonna throw me off. But I stopped listening to him, so I wrote his name down, and I also wrote example because I feel like God used both of them as an example in two different ways to teach us to not play with him, to not play with what he built in ministries on is, which is the relationships. The first thing that was mentioned in the Bible, God is showing these people, stop playing with me. You're not gonna get on here with your unhealed trauma and your drama and get on here and lead my people astray when I'm trying to repair the people. And you're leading them either into relationships that will be end up toxic, or away from relationships and discouraged forever being in one. So I wrote down in Genesis, Eve was sent as a helpmeet, right? And I said, if Adam was to reject Eve for what she was sent here for, she would feel not needed, unappreciated, and purposeless, right? So, rejection is a huge thing that is going on right now. Huge. And a big topic that was discussed a few years back by all the relationship coaches at the time was ghosting, right? And ghosting is a form of rejection. But we know sometimes rejection is not just what you feel it is. Rejection, it could be God's protection, meaning that you could be dating the wrong person and you could be in the wrong season. If it is the right person, you probably awaken in love before it's time. So rejection is not always a bad thing. It just feels like that. But in this case, when I'm mentioning it for Adam and Eve, if I'm hypothetically speaking, if Adam had rejected Eve and the job that God sent her to do, which was to be a helpmeet. So say for instance, he's tending to the animals, and Eve tried to come and assist him. Maybe she brought the food out or something, and Adam was into pride or ego and said, I don't need your help. I want you to be a lady. I want you to put on some high heels and be and put a dress on and just leave me to do all the work, right? I wrote that I'm gonna go into I'm gonna go into it. Okay, just bear with me. I said, why did God feel Adam needed help? Because a lot of times when you read scripture, you have to fill in the blank, like because there's a revelation for you specifically on your journey. So God strategically left little types of fragments of information out of each biblical book, and it's because it wouldn't fit you if He gave details and accounts to them, because that's their story. But He can use it as a reference to highlight a season that you're in. So you can say, I'm in the season of Genesis. I'm in the season of Exodus. I'm in my Moses season. I'm in my Job season. However, and God can use their story as a reference point to kind of highlight where you are. But if you had all these specific details, you will associate where you're at with what they went through. So if he said, like, I don't know, I hope you caught what I was trying to say because I don't know how to break it down any more than that. So I put, uh, why did God feel Adam needed help? And I put, my opinion was the job started to evolve into something greater. So the job that God gave Adam, which was to till the earth and grow herbs and feed the animals and take care of them, it became greater because everything evolves. Those animals started to reproduce, right? So God sent, and I felt something right there when I just said that. Um, so He sent Eve to help him, right? A lot of people speculate that maybe Adam was bored, maybe he was depressed, maybe he was lonely, maybe he started doing weird things with the animals, whatever, like out of curiosity. But I don't feel like that. I feel like those animals started to evolve, reproduce, started to do new things because certain things can be one way and new things start to occur. We see that every day. Um, but I also said that maybe he was just exhausted. Maybe it was just too much work for him, right? But God didn't send another man, He sent him a woman. So I said, have you ever felt you reached your limit spiritually, financially, etc.? I said, God sends help to carry you to the next level. Now let's say you own a business, right? And you always hit this peak of 50,000 every month, 50,000. But now you set a new goal and you want to take it to 100,000, right? But you can't get over this hurdle and you're like, what is it that I need to exceed 50,000 for the month? And maybe you might do it one month and then you try to do it again the next month. Maybe you hit 75,000 this month, but the next month you keep trying to do it and it's not consistent. It's because you're missing a key element that will help you do that repetitively, right? And it might even be you just changing out your manager or your supervisors or advertisement. It can be the changing of the letters in your logo, something so simple just to appear to more people so that more people will become aware who you are. You seen like over times like McDonald's, and you seen them be so consistent for so long, but then you start seeing them renovate the look of their McDonald's. Like it's not just so basic and bland. You look back 50 years ago to what McDonald's look like today, but they still kept the golden arch. But then they took away Ronald McDonald and the Ronald McDonald House and things like that. So everything in its time evolves, but they still have a little key element that stays the same that makes them unique. Like Nike, I have on a Nike hat. You done seen so many different types of Nike hats being produced. Then they went to make different multicolors. Then they went to make neon colors. So they started trying to put things out that was more appealing to to more people. So the people who are always buying the black hats, they probably are consistent customers. Every time this get worn out, I'll just go get another one. I know what store to get it from. I know what season it comes out. But maybe I might have a child who likes to wear neon colors. And now my child is like, I seen that they dropped a neon color hat, and now my child wasn't interested in Nike before, but because these new colors dropped, now they just gained a new customer, right? So it goes like that. So I feel like when the animals started to evolve on the earth, um, God had seen that he needed help. And take note that he did not send him another man, he sent him a woman, right? So Eve was sent to take Adam to the next level. So now he only knew how to probably tend to about 50 animals, right? So when Eve got sent, now you can probably double that or triple it because depending on how good their work ethics are or what plans they came up with or solutions, right? They might even invented machines or something. I don't know. So God sent, I do know, but you know what I mean. God sends help to carry you to the next level, right? that can take so much time. But but if you had a permanent helper, then that wait will no longer be a long drawn out wait. It would turn into favor. And I caught listen, I caught this. Today is 9/11/23. I caught that. I looked at the clock literally at 2:22. Literally. And I'm talking about Genesis and couples. Like God was really speaking. So that's what pushed me to keep going with my notes and stuff, because I knew once he confirmed that time, I was like, I'm on the right path. So what I wanna elaborate on that a little for a second. What I meant by that is God can send you, like, say for instance, like, let's go back to the company, and you have 50,000. Maybe you hired a temp person from a temp service, and you thought you only needed somebody for a second to organize your drawers, to get payroll back a flourishing, or to do your bookkeepings or something like that, and you thought that you just needed help temporarily for that time to get you back afloat, to catch you up. But that's why it's important to have a relationship with God, because God will let you know, like, no, you need to hire that person permanently, because now your company is growing to the next level. And when you grow to the next level, you're going to need somebody in that position, because now your team needs to grow as well, right? So, what I mean, if this goes to relationships, men and women, because we're in a time where men is not the only ones out here being Jezebels. I'm going to say that. Um, You can have temporary fixes throughout your life. Like, you can keep dating this person temporary, this person temporary, this person temporary, right? Then you will see yourself hit a peak and you come back down. You hit a peak, you come back down, depending on who you let. Because you could hire for your company somebody from a temp service and they're a terrible worker. Then you got to hire someone else. And you got to keep calling that temp agency to send more people. Now, in reference to relationships, you can look at it as counterfeits, because that's the thing that you guys are talking about now, counterfeits and kingdom spouses. So if you keep entertaining these temporary people, every blue moon you might hit somebody who could take you to the next level, help you reach. They might speak life over you. They might not necessarily do anything pertaining to like physical work. They might just speak life into you, and it gives you fuel, it gives you energy. um when people first meet and they start dating, they wasn't when you're not thinking you're going to meet somebody, the first thing some people do, most men do this, they go to the gym right away. Like, I didn't think I was going to meet somebody. Let me try to whip in shape real quick. You wasn't even expecting it to happen. Some people try to make more money, depending on the person that they met. So, but if you would just work on yourself, right? Spend some time alone, like Adam did for a little while. Work on you, get to know your environment. Like, I'm sure he knew them animals and named them, and I'm sure that they knew his spirit. Like, when he came out, they probably came up to him. Like, I watch people on Instagram all the time on short clip videos have relationship with animals, and it amazes me that I never thought of animals in that way. I didn't look at them. They somewhat can be compared to humans, to be honest. Like, they know their names, they answer to their names, they cannot communicate the same way, but they show love, affection, and all those things. Like, it's just amazing that I never thought of most animals like that. And it'd be the wildest animal that you wouldn't even think of. Like, I just saw some lady clip a pig's toenail, and they turned the pig on his back because he had an attitude. He didn't want to get his nails clipped. And when when they turned the pig on his back, he was screaming out loud like, ah, ah. She was like, in the caption they said, you would think we were killing him. That was so funny to me, but how dramatic the pig was, I was like, he has personality, or she has personality. But I never thought that a pig did that type of stuff. Like, that's something our kids would do. And it was just hilarious. Like, so, but what I wanted to say is, if you do what Adam did and spend time by yourself also with God, I'm glad he put that in there, and spend time with God, right? You will be able to hearken to God's voice. You will learn how to hear God's voice. That's why when Eve committed sin, they both heard God speaking clear. They heard him before the sin was committed, when he told them what to do. Like, and he told them what tree to stay away from in the garden. So they were already hearing God's voice, but Adam was here first hearing God's voice. Sorry, kick the table. Um But what I want to say is Adam had a permanent helper. Eve was not sent to him temporarily. He didn't have temporary fixes and temporary relationships with multiple different women, right? That's why even with the sin being done, they still had a level of consistency, because if they didn't, we wouldn't be here. They even worked out the betrayal or whatever, the deception that got them cursed. They still stayed together and had children, right? So that just shows, with God on your side, you could work through anything. So, and they had to grieve the loss of a son, because one son killed the other son, and they stayed together even through that. So I said, women feel torn down, but so does men, right? And it's because of the times that we are in today. And I see it more in the Black community than any other community. And that's because other cultures have more, um, they really follow religion, and the religion gives them more structure. And even though some of those relationships are chosen spouses for them and stuff like that, and they have to learn to love their wife, if they ever even get to that point, they still learn to work together as a team. And they all work together as a culture, and they all work together as a unit. Like, you see every other ethnic background work together as a country. Even when they're over here in the United States, they still work together. We're the only ones, sorry, we're the only ones who don't do that. Like, we are just in chaos. I was just speaking about this yesterday. Like, we're the only one who just so free and open and just allow anything to go on in our country and anything to go on in our religion. I mean, as a Christian. So, so men and women both are tore down. That's because of what's happening today, but it's what we are being fed to believe, and what we are being fed to desire, right? If you're under, and I hate to say this because he's not here anymore and he can't defend himself, what I'm about to say, but I feel like Kevin Samuel's position here on earth was to deceive God's people. And with that type of deception, it's like being put under a spell. Like the way men defended him when it was happening, like the things he was saying and how angry they would get. Like when I told my friend, I hate to say this, Lord, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I felt like Kevin Samuel had a hatred towards women to the point he didn't date women. Honestly, it was like a cover up to me. And when I would say that or mention it, the men would get so mad, because I felt like y'all look at this man like a father figure, and that's just like a man finding out his dad is bisexual or gay or something like that. They will feel some type of way. I don't know if they would get over it. Most people do, but it's like they would be so angry and go through all these phases and stuff. And I was seeing that in men when I would mention it. They didn't expose Kevin Samuels, like had literally had footage, and men will watch it and still deny what they seen with their own eyes. That's why I was telling him, you have to go by facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with biblical teaching about relationships, you could speak to me and keep talking opinions all day, but biblically speaking about relationships, we can't argue that because it's a fact. But I'm sorry, let me go on. So I said, as soon as Eve stepped away from her husband, the first time they were really mentioned to be separated, and she's probably just wandering off trying to like, and no, we don't even know how big this garden really truly is, but knowing God, this garden could have been, she could have wandered about 2 hours away from him. She could have wandered a couple weeks away from him, because back then, we don't know if she rode a horse and just, wanted to explore, but she wandered away from Adam. So she didn't have his protection. She had her own wisdom leading her, but she didn't have Adam's protection, because I feel like him being present, he would have told her, like, reminded her, or even just been stern with her, like, this is not what we doing. So I said, evil was birthed into the world. An evil human being was birthed. Evil was birthed into the world. A evil human being was birthed from Eve's cursed womb. I don't know why I'm being tongue tied. So Eve's womb was cursed, and then she had an evil son first before she had a good son. So she birthed evil into the world. And I said, how do you break a curse, right? And I wrote with goodwill, which is so ironic because there's literally a charity story called The Goodwill. And I had learned this, and I tried to look it up today to see if it was facts before I spoke on it. But I heard that when you do charity and you give and you donate, it can break curses off of you, right? So if that is true, hypothetically speaking, if that is true, that's probably why they named the thrift store the Goodwill, because doing good will help you break curses and demonic forces off of you, whatever. Do you know donating to charity can break off a bad omen or a curse? That's what I wrote. They, I said that's probably why God had us to do it, like to donate charity. That's probably why God had us to do it, and where Goodwill got its name from. That's what I wrote. So I wrote Second Corinthians because this is what I found online. Second Corinthians 9:7 says, "Each of you should give what you decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly, which means unwilling or disinclined, or under compulsion, which means obligation, force, pressured, or oppression. For God loves a cheerful giver." So let me read it again. Each of you should give what you decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. So Matthew 25:34 through 46. I don't think it was through 46. I didn't write it all. But Matthew 25:34 says, it was a breakdown online. So I wrote down the breakdown. It said, Jesus teaches us that we should give food to the hungry, shelter to those who have none, and clothes to the poor. When we visit the sick and those who are in need in prison, it is as if we're giving and doing these things for Him instead. He promises that as we do these things, we will inherit His kingdom. So I don't want to get too far off, but let me go back. Oh, because I got on the subject of curses because Eve one was cursed when she committed evil in the world. So I had a conversation about this earlier. Um, the man is the covering, right? So it's important for us to be together as one, to for a man and woman to be together as one, and that is your ministry. That is what God really called us to be. And my friend asked me earlier, like, do I think that God wanted everybody to be married? And I truly do believe that. I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart, because I wasn't even somebody, and I'm gonna go into a testimony time right now, because I was not somebody who desired marriage. And it's weird that I didn't, because I grew up in a household where my mom was married for many years. Like, she was literally married for 20 some odd years before my stepfather passed. Um, and I saw a healthy relationship with those two, but I didn't desire marriage for myself, and I think it had a lot to do with like things that I had that was trauma, um, and how I viewed myself. I didn't think I was worthy. It was just so many factors, like, and then the way the world was going, like, it was just all the men seemed to be like how I feel about them today. This is like 16 years later, I still feel the same way. Like, men are so sleep. They don't like right now, like God is waking up his children. We're in an age of awakening, and more women are awakened before the men. I don't know if God doing that strategically for whatever reason, because he had Adam on earth first. So I don't know why he wouldn't wake the men up first. So the only thing I could come up with is that the men are rejecting the call. Like, God is literally calling you and you're not answering the phone. You need to pick up the phone and say, "Here I am. What do you need from me? I'm ready to serve you. I surrender my life to you." But he's not going to force you. But you will keep running into the same cycles that I just mentioned earlier. Keep running into those Jezebel spirits, and you're not going to be able to break through the cap where you are. So wherever you at in life, you keep finding yourself repetitively in the same cycles. Because I'm right there now. I just looked around the other day, like, how did I end up back in my hometown when I was just living in a different state? How did I end up back living with my parents when I just was here about 4 years ago, 3 years ago? I was living with my mom. Now I'm back living with my mom because I'm in transition. But I know, like, with me in my path is God strategically doing these things, because before I move into my place since I've been walking with Christ, He always had me go to a family member's house during the transition. Um, I'll get into that another day. Why? Because I just realized why. Um, but it's like I can look at it two ways. I can look at it like God is taking me this way, but I also can look at it like I'm being disobedient because it is things that God asked me to do. There is another way that I'm sure that God could have carried me, but I just didn't walk in complete obedience all the time. Like I feel like I walked in enough obedience that I'm not living in a hotel because I prayed against that. I'm in enough obedience that I'm not living in my car. I'm in enough obedience that I'm not staying with strangers that I had to find online. And no shade to nobody because I admire that strength in a lot of people that I watch on YouTube that's going through that. And y'all done brought me to tears. I done sowed seeds to some of you guys because of y'all poured on my heartstrings. And I know like some people just don't have family that will welcome them. Some people don't know enough people. But I lived in a lot of fear and it had me stagnant because maybe if I lived in a hotel, I wouldn't have had to come back home to Ohio. But I don't look at it that way because everybody paths is different. So I feel like you are fighting your battle and maybe you stand in a hotel, maybe you stand in an Airbnb, maybe you stand with a friend, or maybe you met somebody, you stand with them and you're going through your transition phase, but you still are where you desire to be. I don't desire to be in my hometown, but maybe God brought me back here because of the next assignment is here and I'm just not aware of it, you know? So I had to repent last week because I felt like I was in a place of ungratefulness. And I feel like I'm getting so far off topic, but don't, but I wanted to say, don't keep repeating the same thing because I started to ask God, like, am I repeating something the same and I'm missing it? Like, you told me don't work a actual job. You told me to focus on, but I think the only thing that I can come up with is that I did not take YouTube serious. Like it could have been an extra source of income, and I probably wouldn't have had to come here had I started. If I kept the videos going in Atlanta, because I would have had enough money. I'm sure I would have made about $2,000-3,000, and that's enough to survive just paying your rent and stuff. And I do hair, and I just started a cleaning company, so if I would have been consistent with YouTube, I think that was the disobeying that I did that set me back financially. That's what I believe. So I did keep falling to a circle of repetitively not obeying God in that aspect. So if you're repetitively not obeying God and He's telling you to go marry this person or date this person, show interest in this person, you're gonna not be able to break that ceiling. You're gonna keep falling back into the same cycles to do the same thing over and over and over and over. Because when He said like he who finds a wife and finds a good thing, he finds a good thing, he receives favor from God. He receives favor. The lady is not favored. You have to marry this woman in order to receive. It's like God gives you a wedding gift and He gives you both favor together. So without you, I'm talking to the man. Without you, man, she don't even have much favor. Y'all both probably got a little bit of favor here and there, sprinkle here and there. That's why y'all be so grateful when the blessings rain down on you individually. But until we come together as a whole, both parties on both ends suffer. Because I remember I looked up, I'm so sleepy, y'all. Um, what it meant to be equally yoked, and it actually showed two animals on this machine. I talked about this before. They're equal animals. It cannot be a chicken and a cow because the cow would do all the work and the chicken would just be floating up on the yoke machine because it put like a harness over the animals and the harness is attached to like some type of wooden thing. And as the animals walk around in a circle, they grind down like butter and stuff. Like whatever they put in that machine, the animals work to like turn it to help grind down whatever it is. So if it's like grapes or if it's like butter, I didn't do all that research on to see what they put in there. But yeah, so you can't put two different types of animals on the yoke machine. Y'all have to literally be the same. Y'all like I would say equally yoked spiritually, equally yoked on the same path you want to reach financially. Y'all have to agree. And the Bible says, how could two walk together unless they both agree? So both parties have to agree to even be together. But once you two agree and you come together, then the favor comes because oh, I don't even have time because my phone is about to die and it's 12:12 as I say this. So I'm gonna hurry up and say it. Um Lord, I lost it. Where was it? The two of you cannot come together unless you two agree. I lost it, y'all. Hold on, let me see if I can receive the Lord. Please help me. I was talking about favor, and the two cannot walk together unless they both agree. I think I lost it, y'all. Maybe I'll make another video. There's 8 people watching. Hey, y'all. At first, I had 0 people, but now I got 8. I'm so happy. Um, I want y'all to go back and watch this whole video. I'm so sleepy, but I feel like I did a pretty good job of getting what God had placed on me to get out today, and I pray He's happy with what I did. Every time I get on here or on Instagram and I do a word, God always reward me so cute. Like I'll pull up to Arby's or something and get a free cookie, or it just be something like somebody would pay for my stuff in line or something. And it just like God rewards me for obedience. So it was something about favors coming back to me. Um I felt that. It was something about favor. But if I remember I'll get back on. But right now I cannot remember what it was. And it's probably because I'm sleepy. But I feel like God's telling me to wrap it up anyway because He showed me my phone was at 20%. So you guys be blessed, stay encouraged. And let me give you a couple words of encouragement right now. Whew. Father God, please give me the words to say to my brothers and sisters. This journey is hard, right? But it's so rewarding and it's so lonely, but you're really not alone. So I want you to know that it's hard to love God because you cannot see Him. We were taught to love what we could see. That's just deception. You can love God because He's going to tell you how much He loves you. And He's going to help you to see yourself the way He sees you. And really, that's all that matters. Like, even if you in a relationship right now where you have children giving you a hard time or your job giving you a hard time or whatever the case may be, take it to God. I don't care how silly you feel talking to Him. I don't care how emotional you are. Let it out. Like, be vulnerable with Him because and visualize Him as your father and that you sitting on one of these recliner seats talking to your daddy and tell him how you feel. I'm telling you, it was a work in progress for me to get that way because I used to feel silly talking out loud and just speaking to God. And sometimes I don't even say it out loud, but it's so rewarding. And I don't want the devil to reward me quickly and give me something that he's going to come back and want something back in return. When God gives it to you, it's forever, right? As long as you still continue to walk that narrow path. And even still, even when you're off your path, He gives you grace because people say, God knows my heart. A lot of evil people say that. But when you really walking with Christ and you really fighting real hard every day, God really, really, really knows your heart. So He knows when you're like so beat down and you're so weary and you just slide a little bit back, or you have a little bit of doubt and you slide a little bit back. What happens is, depending on how much work you've done in obedience, he, if you've done enough, He'll put a grace over you. He knows that you're trying. He knows that it's hard. He too walked in the flesh. He too felt when they spit on Him and kicked Him and punched Him and drilled nails in His hand. So He knows how it feels to be crucified every single day by people who claim that they know who you are, who people claim that they love you. They claim that you're this noble character person. They claim that they've seen the miracles that God did in your life. He knows that before He did this for you, before you was crucified, He was crucified too. and he wanted to experience it for himself, so that when he giving you these assignments and when he's sending help, he kind of already know what you need. He kind of already know how hard the wait is, because he too went to the mountain and he too cried. It always, a few scriptures say Jesus wept. That means he got into his emotions. It was too much for him to bear. And he, if you read the scripture, he went alone. He had to go back. You know how, like, you are, like, if you're an introvert, you know what I'm talking about. Every time something gets too much, you've been around people for too long, you got to go back in the house and you kind of like retract from everybody. You probably put your phone on do not disturb. You don't want to be bothered. Then you go see a prayer closet if you have a prayer life, and you talk to God and you tell him. This is when you tell him what these people doing to you. That, and this is so important, because, and I'm not a person, I struggle with this at first. I'm not a person who like really want God to go hard and punish the people that come against me. But I do be wanting to see the Father go and put them in timeout. Like, show them that you don't play with them. Show them that they can't play with me. I'm your daughter. You know what I'm saying? And you will see him show up for you. And then it might not be when you wanted to or how you see fit. You can't wish somebody lose their job, or wish their kids get taken by CPS, or wish that their car break down because they did these things to you. No, you have to literally let God handle it how he handles it. And honestly, some of the stuff that I've seen happen to my enemies, I couldn't do in my own strength. I couldn't do it because it's like supernatural. Like, I can't make somebody choose a bad spouse and have a child with them and have to deal with them for 18 years. That, I mean, I could try to match and date them together, but they have to accept that. They have to like each other and conceive the baby. But God can make them desire each other, because he'll pull back his protection and wisdom or whatever from them and let Satan have his way. Job, the book of Job speaks about that. God was just like, you could do this and do this and do this, but you can't kill him. You do not have the authority to ask God to beat this person, make them ill, make them sick. So all of that stuff is witchcraft. All you do is say, God, this person hurt me. Let it be your will. And I want, just ask them. I always ask God to change my enemy's heart, just because I be having more peace when I don't have enemies. And it's hard because you always gonna come in and encounter with enemies. But I always, new levels do new devils. Sometimes I don't even be worried about the people from the past, like family members and stuff that was the first people to pick on me. They don't even bother me no more. It be these new people that you can't trust for real, because you don't know who they are, or it's like you want to let your guard down and you want to open up and you want this and that and the third, but you will see them do little stuff and it'll hurt you because you don't let the guard down a little bit, or you just put yourself out there, whatever. But I just tell God, like, I surrender them to you. You do you. Like, if you feel they need to be punished, then that's you. If you don't, but what I did post early, yesterday, I think it was, I dealt with some stuff, some real spiritual warfare, and it's like the people who don't bother me no more really turned it up a notch in the last week. And I just put on social media, like, I'm not praying for y'all no more. I'm not praying for y'all for a little while, because I want y'all to see the difference. I want you to see how powerful my prayer life really is. Like, how I don't forget to pray for y'all almost every single night. Like, how I ask for God to clean your heart. I ask for God to provide finances for you so you don't struggle. Because I don't need you to be mad if God gives me a couple dollars and you struggling. I want him to give you the few dollars too, even if it have to come through me. But I even asked before, like, God, can you bless me with a little extra so I could sow a seed on YouTube to one of my favorite people or whatever. So it's like I pray for my enemies. I don't pray against them, but I seen God turn up on some of them. You know what I'm saying? Because some of the stuff that he took me through was bad, and it was unfair, and it was unnecessary. So that's it, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all go. It's 12:21. I love y'all. Thank you all for popping in and out. I seen a lot of people popping in and out. I was excited because I seen like 15 people up there. Right now I got 5. Now I got 3. But I love y'all so much with the love of Christ. I pray y'all have a blessed day tomorrow and the day after and the day after. Wake up in the morning and give God gratitude. Show him what you're grateful for, all the way down to the breath that you take in and out of your mouth, in through your nose. Thank Him for clear skin. Thank Him for clear skies. Thank Him for clear paths on the way to work, on the road, whatever it may be. Thank Him for whatever you can come up to mind. Give Him as much time of gratitude as you can, and then go into prayer about everything else. But I love y'all. Y'all have a blessed night.